Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's time for November's Indie Author Showcase, so let's go and hear some authors talking about their books.
Hi there everyone, wherever you may be in the world, and thank you Dominic for allowing me to be part of this author's showcase. It really means a lot. It's my first time doing something like this, so I'm very excited. I want to start off with bringing a mention to my debut, which was published 2 years ago, the fantastically underwhelming epic of a dead wizard and an average bard. A mouthful, I know. But it revolves around the idea that, what happens if you take the average formula for a fantasy epic and make it a little bit more lighthearted, make it a little bit more of a parody of itself. And that's what it is. It is self-aware. You're a typical, smart wizard, wise and full of riddles. It's actually kind of lame and just mean all around. And what if our protagonist isn't somebody who's out there to save the world from a dark force or the oppressive empire? What if it's just a kid trying to fulfill a promise to their sister? That's pretty much what it is. But what I'm actually here to talk about today is my new baby coming out in February called 11th Cycle. This is the lovely paperback for it, and look at that. It is a thick boy, and it is about 800 pages thick. So what was the inspiration around 11th Cycle? Pretty simple, actually. I was playing Dark Souls, and I'm like, I wonder if there are any books out there that are inspired by Dark Souls. There is Malazan. There are also some other books that come to mind. Check out Nathan Hall. I'm currently reading his book, and it's very, very also, Dark Souls inspired. But other than that, I don't have many books in that vein. I'm like, you know what? I want to do that. And that's pretty much what it is. The story revolves around the fact that, going with the name 11th Cycle, that the world is only as big as the bordering mists called the Har allow. And the Elder King sends off their spawn every 1,000 years or so, give or take, who will then go and recover the heart of an evil that they must slay. When they bring that heart back, the Elder King uses that heart and is able to push back the mists, create more life in the world, have more land to cultivate. And also it adds another month to the calendar. And this is a cosmic calendar, meaning that the people actually get to live longer the more months there are in a year. There are now currently 10 years, hopefully 11th cycle. If it ends, there are 11. The last seed, however, did turn traitor. And now is the question of if the new seed will succeed where the last failed and bring an end to the Har, end to the cycle. The mists are returning, they're suffocating the lands, and the question now is there any way to get out of that? I am very proud of this book. It took me about 2 years to write, fully with edits and everything, and audiobook is coming a little bit later down the line. I hope you like this. This is I had to do several takes for this, but hopefully the next time I come on board and do one of these, it'll be more succinct and clear spoken. Thank you all, and I hope you consider my stuff or one of the other books in this showcase. Bye guys.
Hello everybody, my name is PJ Nwosu and I am a dark fantasy author from Australia. I write chilling dark fantasy with a heavy dose of Sherlock Holmes. So I basically mash together my two favourite genres, which are noir detective stories and fantasy books with epic world building. In real life, I'm a very positive and generally very happy person, but my books are quite dark. I really love creepy and macabre stories from history, and the darker the better, and that definitely heavily influences my writing. So my debut dark fantasy book is called Dream of Death City. So this one is the first book in my upcoming Red Kingdom series of dark mysteries in epic fantasy worlds. It's out 18 November 2022, so this month as I record this. Dream of Death City is set in a corrupt and crumbling kingdom filled with slaves, murder, superstition and purges. It's a land that has death giants wandering the oceans and a mysterious power called the Crooked Bee that leads any citizen who touches it to a burning pyre. My story follows a young woman called Thora who is a slave in the Red Kingdom's powerful investigation house. Along with a bitter soldier with dark dreams, Thora is assigned to investigate a brutal mystery on a faraway, isolated island in the frozen south, a place called Death City, which has its own strange lore and superstition and is a very wild and dangerous frontier. So, Dream of Death City has been described in reviews as a crime thriller in a fantasy world, also as 1984 meets The Alienist meets The Handmaid's Tale, and as a Nordic noir or hard-boiled detective novel in a fantasy setting. So I also have a prequel spin-off novella available now called A Pale Box on the Distant Shore. And the ebook is free across all retailers for this one. I also have a short story direct prequel to Dream of Death City, and that short story is set 6 months before the events in this book, and that short story is available for free by signing up to my newsletter on my website. I also have a really cool free visual guide to the series, which includes a lot of character art, maps, and behind the scenes world building information if you enjoy to have a visual guide while you read. And all of that's available on my website, which you can find at www.pjnwosu.com. Thanks so much for listening, everybody, and a huge thank you to Dom for this showcase series. Bye!
Hi, my name is Connor Jackson. I am the author of The Bindings of Woe, which is a new epic fantasy novel and the first in the Chain of Worlds series, which I've been writing. It is set in the fantasy world of Gaia, where humans, goblins, and dwarves have all had their kingdoms conquered long ago by a new fantasy race of mysterious beings known as the Sovereigns. And the Sovereign Empire now stretches to all known corners of the known world of Gaia. And this empire I have modeled after a combination of ancient Rome and ancient Persian empires of our world, yet with more of a technology level around the Renaissance period to make what I consider a very unique, interesting empire to set a story in. And this empire has become embroiled in conflict with a large group of rebels, also many call terrorists through their extreme actions and the violent manner in which they fight for freedom, known as the Lost Seekers, who are fighting against what they claim is an oppressive, evil empire. And it's through these larger conflicts that many innocents get pulled into the conflicts of the world. And one of these groups is a group of teenagers from a small human village. Their names are Carver and Helena, with some other companions. And through no desire of their own, are now pulled into a great struggle of survival while the world seems to be coming for them on both sides. And they have to fight to survive and find answers for why they're being hunted and how to escape the situation they now find themselves in as they travel across their large island that they've really only ever known. And they know very little about the true large scale world. My approach and writing style for the novel is very dialogue focused and character driven, where I try to cut out as much narration paragraphs as possible and have you, the reader, learn about the world and its dynamics through the characters as they learn about it, through interactions, dialogue, how they ask questions, how things happen in front of them, and how they see and perceive the world. And it is very much a coming of age story through a dark fantasy environment, but is very grounded in historical realism and not too crazy in the high fantasy while still having things like magic potions, monstrous beasts. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can find my book at my website, chainofworlds.com, or through me and my Twitter and Facebook at Chain of Worlds. It's distributed through Chapters and Amazon and every other place you can find ebook, physical, hardcover, softcover. So if you're interested, take a look. I appreciate it. And also, I want to give a thank you to Dominish Books for hosting me on his channel and all the help he does for indie authors like myself. So subscribe to his channel if you haven't already. Thanks a lot.
Hi everyone, I'm Emma, a self-published fantasy author from the UK, writing as Emma L. Adams, and I'm here to talk about my first epic fantasy series, the Relics of Power trilogy, in particular the first book, The Lost Sentinel. The series is now complete, which is very exciting, with all 3 books now available. It's a fantasy adventure trilogy featuring devious deities, a sarcastic talking staff, dragons, magic, monsters, heroes, unlikely heroes rather, all the good stuff. The easiest way to summarise the plot of the first book is to read from the blurb, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. They say the country of Jorden no longer has any need for heroes. Quests have been completed, the great powers have withdrawn from the world, and the sentinels who guard the last relics are largely forgotten. Unlike their neighbours in the country of Aestin, whose invokers wield magic of the deities in exchange for glory and prestige, they leave the gods alone, and the gods extend the same courtesy to them. When Jorden's last sentinel disappears, Zell, her granddaughter, intends to track her down. Instead, she runs into an Aestinian stranger with no memories of his past, who claims to be looking for a long-lost relic hidden in the mountains by the first sentinels. To Zell, the rumours of lost relics are just stories told to trick gullible travellers, but the hordes of enemies on the stranger's tale suggest otherwise. Armed with nothing but her grandmother's sentient and temperamental magical staff, Zell finds herself tasked with keeping them both alive. Between monstrous beasts, magical storms, and an enthusiastic but inept aspiring assassin and her dragon sidekick, Zell has her work cut out if she wants to survive long enough to save her grandmother and prevent the destruction of a nation. Maybe Jorden is in need of a few heroes after all. So that pretty much sums that up. If that sounds like your thing, I hope you'll check out the series. There's also book 2, Perilous Sea, and book 3, Nameless God. The books get increasingly longer, but they're still fast-paced reads, and they're available on Amazon. The paperback is available on pretty much everywhere you can find print books online. Meanwhile, you can find out more about my books at emmaladams.com. You can also find me on Twitter at eladams12. Otherwise, thank you very much to Dom for giving me a chance to come here and talk about my work and for showcasing indie authors, and I hope you'll check out the books.
Hello, readers of books. I'm Daniel Meyer, and I'm the author of Credible Threats, my debut novel and book 1 of the Sam Adams series. It's just been released, and it's available on Amazon as a paperback or an ebook. Credible Threats is an urban fantasy about a 16-year-old wizard named, to be clear, Sam Adams. His city of Williamsport is a powder keg divided between rich and poor. There's crime, there's corruption, there's lots of dark secrets kind of lurking around under the surface. And into that mix comes a designer drug called Hex. Hex gives ordinary humans magical powers before killing them, and this inflames all those tensions and causes Williamsport to erupt into chaos. Now, Sam is still reeling from a devastating loss, and he has no experience fighting evil, so he has no desire to get involved, but he's the wizard in an urban fantasy novel, so of course he does. And the stakes escalate and escalate, and the deeper he digs, the more he realizes that there are some forces at work here that go beyond the drug dealer, beyond Williamsport. There are forces in the spirit world that have their own murky agenda, and this is about to spiral completely out of control. There's a ton of action and sarcasm and magical mayhem. There's a talking cat, and I really hope all of you out there enjoy it, and thanks to Dom for letting me participate in this.
Hi, I'm Caroline Sciriha from Malta, and I'm the author of Dawn of Purple and Grey. This is Dawn. It's a YA epic fantasy. A few words about the book. The protagonist is a 16-year-old child. She's the daughter of a potter. She's an ordinary girl with a secret. Her hair, her natural hair color, is silver, and the only silver-haired people in her world are those that are her country's feared enemies, the Highlatons. So she wears a headscarf because any connection with the Highlatons means being hanged as a traitor. The story starts when Shale helps a mortally wounded queen's messenger, who before he dies entrusts her with delivering 3 statuettes, to the queen. Shale discovers that these clay statuettes have magical properties, but it's too late by that time because the statues are out of her hands. But since she cut her finger on the statuettes while handling them, she's now linked to them. Any breakage or pressure on the clay is felt on her flesh. For example, when the statuette's arm is broken, Shale feels the break on her own arm. When someone applies pressure on the throat of the statuette, she feels like she's being suffocated. Yet the statuettes have a positive side. They boost certain innate abilities. So Since Shale cut herself on the statue of the falconer, her affinity with animals is boosted and she can communicate with her pet wolf and even see through his eyes. However, the three statuettes belonged to the Hylatons. Shale is captured by them, and although she doesn't want to aid the enemy, she agrees to help them to get the statues back. She does this to protect herself, her family, and to break this magical connection with the statues and with the Hylatons. The story continues from there. The book explores themes of loyalty, friendship, family ties, and we see Shale's gradual change as she discovers more and more about herself, her qualities, and her true identity. I don't want to give away too much. So if you like magic, enemies to lovers, twists and turns, harrowing escapes, found families, war between kingdoms, and even a little romance, you'll enjoy Dawn of Purple and Grey. Book 2 will be out in the next few weeks. It might even be available by the time this clip is released, and I hope you enjoy the books. You can find me on the usual social media. I also have a Facebook page, Caroline Sciriha and Writing Fantasy, a blog, carolinesciriha.wordpress.com, and I publish a newsletter twice a month, carolinesciriha.substack.com. Thanks, Dom, for this opportunity.
All right, I am author Jorden Darrett, writer of 12 Blades in Contempt, which is my debut Japanese-inspired epic/progression fantasy novel. Although I do want to make it clear, it is only loosely Japanese-inspired because I'm still far from an expert on Japanese mythology and culture. But one of the biggest things I took inspiration from was definitely The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Side note, I have right here with me the beautiful Waterstones special edition for Babel, which I still haven't read yet, so I'm really looking forward to that. I think Kuang is one of my favorite authors, just based off the Poppy War trilogy alone, honestly. So I took a lot of inspiration from that. I really enjoyed the dynamic relationship between Rin and the Empress in that series. I also really admired the magic system in the Poppy War, as well as the magic system in The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. So the magic in 12 Blades and Contempt is kind of a mix between the two. But yeah, so I would say check it out if you enjoy political intrigue, mysterious magic, and as well as a lot of fast-paced action scenes. And also, if you sign up for my newsletter on my website, you'll be able to get the first 5 chapters of the first book for free, the first in a series of 5, as well as early cover reveals, because book 2 is on the way. So be on the lookout for that, and thanks for listening.
Once again, thank you so much to everyone who sent a video for this showcase. I really do appreciate you taking this opportunity to share your books with my audience, and I hope that it benefits you guys as well. If you're a self-published or indie author of fantasy or science fiction books and you want to be included in the next showcase, which is going to be scheduled for a few days before Christmas, so that's a good incentive, I think, let me know. You can send me a message on Discord, Instagram, Twitter if it's still around, or you can email me. My address is in the About section of my YouTube channel here. Give me some details about your book and I'll send you some information on what you need to do to get a video across to me. That's everything for today though. I hope you found some interesting books to check out. I'll hopefully catch you in the next video sometime soon, but until then, as always, take care of yourselves, read some good books. Bye for now.